Our world is broken, stagnant, fallen into the abyss.
Once Human is surprising. It's a free-to-play, open-world survival crafting game, which is a word salad of flavor of the month genres if ever there was one, and it takes those well-worn ideas and simplifies them into relatively basic forms. And yet, I'm not ready to put it down, even after dozens of hours. It's so fun and so weird that I can't help but think about my next supply run, alien monster fight, or home construction project. There's no shortage of post-apocalyptic survival games out there, but Once Human's take on that setup feels unique and interesting. Rather than your classic zombie or nuclear war scenario, it wraps the end of the world around an alien infestation. It's a fun approach that seems underused in the genre, and Once Human puts it to use in some really clever ways.
Now, do you see it? A glimmer within the void.
This alien organism has the ability to turn basically anything into a grotesque monster, living or otherwise. Sure, that shuffling and snarling person may seem like a zombie, but then it turns around and reveals it has a blinding stage light for a head. I fought light bulbs that have turned into giant spiders, evil trees, and whatever this is. That keeps Once Human full of surprises. Not all of the strange creatures are hostile. Deviations are creatures you can capture and then use either in battle or to help you out around your base. They are essentially the Pokemon of the alien apocalypse. You can carry one into combat in your backpack, like my pal Festering Gel here, which can reshape itself into makeshift cover when thrown. Others, like the Digby Boy, are best put to use at home helping with chores like collecting ore. They're endearing, useful, and utterly bizarre, perfectly suited for this world. Your weaponry, on the other hand, is fairly basic. The arsenal consists of simple melee weapons like blades and bats, as well as your general pistols, rifles, shotguns, small arm options. You can repair or upgrade things you craft, but not the often better gear you'll find out in the field. You can, however, use them until they wear out, then dismantle them for the blueprints, which cleverly encourages you to try things out before investing the time and resources needed to craft your own. The weapons may be conventional, but the enemies you defeat with them most definitely are not. You'll come up against everything from a monster with a traffic cone for a head, to this guy that would look at home in God of War. Sure, most of the fights are resolved by simply flailing your melee weapon or running around in circles and shooting as you drain health bars, but the bosses do a nice job of mixing in unique mechanics, like forcing you to kill monster spawners to make them vulnerable. The creatures are the best looking things in Once Human, with organic and inorganic meeting in a strange body horror aesthetic. I just wish the rest of the world leaned into it more. You can see some decay, but not to the degree that stands out in something like the Last of Us series, which seems like a missed opportunity. The biggest monsters are reserved for instanced dungeons, similar to classic World of Warcraft design. These fights are geared towards groups of up to 4 players, and Once Human makes forming pickup parties easy. A click of a button brings up a server-wide team finder, where you can browse what sort of groups other people are looking for, or start your own. It's very easy to put together a group like this, and the fact that no words or other back and forth is necessary makes it painless, even for online introverts like myself. I just wish it were possible to bring your character along when you switch servers. Right now, if you aren't on the same server as a friend, someone will need to start from scratch in order for you to play together, which is an unfortunate misstep. Outside of combat, there is a simple linear main quest and a smattering of optional side missions. Not a whole lot is done with the main quest, as it seems to mostly serve as an excuse to push you towards new areas rather than an actual story. The missions themselves are largely the same loop of visiting an area, activating a bunch of rift anchors, and then fighting the region's boss, which did get pretty tiresome by the end.
Nice and easy. Well done.
I do, however, appreciate the times once human leans into the strangeness of its world, like when I was sent to hunt a monster that kept turning pregnant people into trees. Seriously.
Plenty of green leaves. She's just not a person anymore.
The map is huge, with regions roughly separated by enemy level and topography. It's big, but far from empty. Every neighborhood or research lab is dense with monstrosities to fight and loot, and every open space is a potential homestead to build upon. It can take a long time to cross from one part of the world to the other by foot, which is why I'm glad an early quest gave me a motorcycle that I can summon anytime, and is fun to zoom around on. There are also transportation towers to unlock, which act as fast travel points, and even a glider, which all help make the distance much more manageable. The level curve is in need of some work, however. It's easy to keep up in the early and mid game, but by the time you reach the final areas, enemies are at such a high level that you are stuck with the choice of being easily one-shot or grinding for hours to work your way to parity. There's nothing wrong with getting your butt kicked and then working to beef up your character to return the favor down the line, but just how suddenly that challenge spikes up makes the climb more daunting than aspirational. The survival crafting aspects benefit from being very simple and straightforward. You have very few things you can craft at the start, but as you accumulate XP and level up, you get mimetic ciphers, which let you unlock nodes on 4 upgrade trees. It's a less is more approach that makes it easy to get back to the action, which I appreciate. Gathering materials is still done via the tried and true run around and punch trees method, and at least early on, supplies are abundant enough that heading out for some mining doesn't feel laborious. Resources seem to grow back quickly, and as you level up, you gain access to things like automated mining or rainfall catchers that move you from a hunter-gatherer into your own industrial revolution, which is very rewarding. Building a home is generally pretty easy thanks to the well-laid-out menu. I'm no craftsman, but even I was able to build this lovely split-level house on a riverbed easily enough. The trickiest part is getting the individual pieces to face the direction you want, and some of my hardest fights have just been trying to get the sections of my roof lined up correctly. It's great that you can see other players' houses for inspiration, and I appreciate that you can save a blueprint of your own, which lets you pack up and move to a new area, then recreate it almost instantaneously. As Once Human is a live service game, there is a roadmap for more content ahead. This includes things like the next steps in the story, technical additions like controller support and special events. Most importantly, each season, which lasts 6 weeks, ends with a wipe of the servers, similar to what happens in Escape from Tarkov. That sounds scary, but the blueprints you collect remain, including the one for your house, as does quest progress. There's no way to know just yet if that's a fun clean slate or a terrible nuisance, but thinking about how I'll approach that has me intrigued and fairly optimistic. As you reach the latter half of the story, you also unlock Eternal Land, which is essentially an alternate build-only mode on a private server. It has a pair of unique currencies called Astral Sand and Astrolite that can be used to buy everything from seeds to fishing rods to scenic elements like stones and trees. Importantly, Eternal Land is free of the seasonal wipes, which is an appealing option if you want to build your dream home and show it off to friends without worry. Once Human is a lot of fun, with survival crafting that is simple and accessible, but still rewarding to dig into. Building a house is amusing, even if pieces aren't always cooperative about snapping together in the right direction. And while the combat is generally pretty basic, the grotesque weirdness of the monsters more than makes up for that, especially when you get a menagerie of weird little creatures of your own to fight with. Once Human would benefit from more creative quests and a flatter difficulty curve, but I still had a great time, and I'm eager to continue my adventures in this twisted world as its first season progresses.
For more Strange New Worlds, be sure to check out our reviews of Nightingale or The First Descendant, and for everything else, stick with IGN.